Okay, how's it going? Jordan Scoville coming at you. This being my first of the video resumes that I'm doing. I was having some trouble just kind of going through it, how I wanted to break it down, so I figured I would start with the most complicated first. Um, being Actually, we're going to start with general labor, and I know that may not seem complicated in terms of a 15-minute system, but the way I go about it, it's kind of special relativity, general relativity. General labor isn't always so general in terms of working shovels and things like that, which we'll get into and everything like that. But one of the reasons it's so complicated when I go to think about it is, more importantly, S.W.A.G Incorporated here. Now, this is my business card, just a small handyman kind of thing that I do, landscaping, glass and stone engravings, just the word around town about making some extra money, for the most part. I did kind of have the thing going for a little while with an insurance, but never really made it off the ground with it. Blueprinting, when you think about just cranking the machine, this is a labor equation of an algorithm that can be pretty complicated. So without getting too in depth with you about it, a lot of shovel work, weed eating, mowing, whether it be actual push mowers or riding mowers, tractor mowers, landscaping. I've done a lot of that. Small hand carpentries, like on crews with other people and stuff like that. My own building boxes. Later on, I'll talk about working in woodworking factories, whether it be custom or stuff like IKEA. I've done a bit of both. So really, the term general labor for me takes on a whole new meaning, especially when you've taken it beyond that concept. Even managerial skills, just working the numbers, the notes, time charts, that becomes, given the job you're doing, something that is a labor kind of aspect of it. You're not the main business owner of the company, and you just sub it out after that. So again, before I get too much into it, just let me give you my bag of tricks here. Literally my to-go bag here. Now I have another one, plus all my extra tools and things like that, sockets, screwdrivers, everything. But normally, some of the things you'll always find on me: firstly, goggles, earplugs, some level of a mask, whether it be just a general dust mask or one of those cheap 3M ones, or even the High Dog Chemical spray booth 3M masks. I'm not afraid. I've done them all. Duct tape, T-square, or well, some level of a square, whether it be a speed square. If I got a T-square, if I got to bring it in there. I've done a lot of laying stone out, cutting with tracer saws, stuff like that. Skill saw, jigsaw, table saws. You kind of name it. I'm 28 years old. Kind of been through the ringer around here in this region. Just about every stone dock, a few board factories. Not really, kind of stayed away from the lumber mills, but they're not that different, especially with the saw setups. It's usually some level of machine system, or stacking a board, or just having to watch all your digits and calculations, and be mindful of the setup. General relativity, if you will. The forms that reference the frames, that have a bunch of smaller forms and resistances, diversified inconsistencies, laws of diminishing exchanges for the time charts. In general, usually there's never really a minimum or a standard average for the pay system. It's usually always max. There's never been a place where I found that, and if there ever was, there's always a follow through with Murphy's Law and performance or something like that behind it. Again, a lot of this can be psychology. The only thing common about common sense is the lacking of it. A lot of this stuff, especially once you have one of the things I do, which is follow up to S.W.A.G Incorporated. This is a blueprinter system. You got to be able to kind of figure stuff out as you go, which is S.W.A.G, Scientific Wild Ass Guess Incorporated, which is a STEM process of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and each of them having a seed element, a space of exact energy design. So when you're on doing a landscaper's map, they're way more than just that. their business quotes, their marketing standards. If you can actually map one out by scale, what scale of a landscaper's map is usually my best lecture on it, if you will, for direct physics. When you know that stuff, having something like that as a standard writer contract can be a marketing tool, can reference this is what the contract was for it, just like an order form or whatever spreadsheet or inventory checklist down to the micron. If you know working CNC machines and gantry saws and stuff like that, cranking out the tape measure, which is another thing you'll find in here, some form of it, whether I need a stiff one or string theory, a ruler or string theory, whichever one of those tools is usually best apt for the position. I like to make it easier on myself. Just to be with this all said, I'm more one of those people that will get the job done right and get it done as quickly as possible, so I can get paid overtime for pushing a broom. I don't like to have to choke it down on the back end when you can get it done early and crank it through on the clock. I found a lot of companies, you want to go home at the end of the day, especially when you can. And to have a clean site just keeps you from kicking over stuff, and just a lot of diversified inconsistency, a lot of the law of diminishing exchange. Again, with the S.T.E.M stuff, the assembly line, I've done stuff like that, table legs. Yeah, there's a lot of different types of assembly line, whether it be a hardcore factory, IWC, integrated wood components of the old Indian country up there, which you're from another machine on a pallet that comes over to you, and you get a whole stack of them, and you just got to do 5 mechanical moves, or doing something like a stone dock, which is the same process, but they take longer in the day. You might hit 2 or 3 of those setups, where board like that with big dog machineries goes a little bit quicker comparatively to something like Knapp woodworking, where the assembly line is the same thing. You're starting with raw board that comes off the truck, or something that gets worked. Somebody else may be doing it, where the same process of doing the table leg, staple gun, glues, what have you is the game. And you got to do that, set them off to the side, do a stack of them, bring them back, put them, finish off the project, put them back on the pallet, wrap them up. There, it's somebody else cuts it. You're hand sanding one product at Knapp Woodworking, or hitting the spray booth, sanding it, which are a lot longer increments, but basically it's the same thing. A lot of that can become managerial, especially when you want to know your times. I just stay on top of them myself. If I know those things, it's just one of those things for me, and I know bosses hate this bit, but you know what you're worth. You know what you're worth. It's hard to let go of that guy. It's just one of those things I found, and not just personally, just watching the crowd. You can pick out Murphy, with no problem. Managers are talking more to him, watching him more, and on the other side of the game. Now, that could be shoveling snow, shoveling dog turds. It doesn't really matter. When you got a pile, you got to be able to put through it. Doesn't matter what that pile is. That's why I consider it all general relativity. Even if I was a manager doing time charts, or having to make my own forms to do something like night watchman at a hotel or something like that, and pick up maintenance with it. It's all labor. Checking somebody in, has a time system with it, how apt you are to do it, asking the right questions. All those kinds of things. And this is my first one out of the gate here, so I just want to tell you some of the big dogs that I do with S.W.A.Ginc Incorporated. This is really what you're hiring in, except for I might have to apply directly for the company on your insurance for whatever pay you're willing to give. That's what the job quote is, and it comes with those perks. Stability. I'm not paying the insurance game with it. It's that place every day usually, unless that's the job, but usually there's trucks or something with it. That is, again, unless you're looking for small line carpentries or something like that, getting on a crew with somebody, construction, something like that. Sometimes you can jump around, but again, most of that's going to fall into the site material, or going to a main shop or something like that on the bigger ends. Of course, there's the mediums and the smallers, but each to have their own. You just got to get comfortable with it, how far you're driving, all that stuff. I don't want to get too much down. That's where it can get kind of complicated when you make the decision whether it's really worth it or not. I'm going to assume all of them are worth it from this point of view. Beyond that, active, valid driver's license, very important. Again, I don't usually find too much problem in the long end of the spectrum. It's taking the notes in the first round, and when somebody gives you a very simple process, they want this landscaper done, which is all landscaping. Even if you're working a CNC machine, it's just the universe gets a little bit smaller for how big things can get, if you know what I'm talking about. General, weighing a resistance in this war of forces. That's one of those ones I picked up. I wish I could say I learned that from somebody, but Sun Tzu, Military Joint Chief of Staff, each one has a term, which has a definition, which is a command directive, just like a boss telling you something. The term is work this, and then do this with that machine, which is the name, the definition, and further notes and concepts based on, just another note is a term, or how in depth you want to get with those terms, being general relativity, special relativity, or simultaneous specialized general relativity. It's psychology, teaching enthusiasm to a crew or something like that. This is where all that is. Doesn't matter if it's painting, doesn't matter if it's construction, plumbing, landscaping, doing glass and stone engravings, blueprinting for somebody, working in a stone bay, chipping off stone edges and thermaling, getting burnt, working fork trucks, loading, unloading bays, whether it be single treads, picking up pallets. I do have I had an expired forklift license from OSHA out of Johnson and Rhodes. Pretty quick, got it. Usually they don't mind. With that said, diesel, gas, propane, and battery operated stand-up forks, the littler ones with the battery operated, the medium-sized gas and diesels, standard or automatic, kind of the newer ones, glassed in ones, kind of where they're hard to see and operate, working stuff that's offset so you can lay it on cribbing and stuff like that, so you can cut them with 8-foot gantry saws. I can load gantry saws, program gantry saws, rock the number of blocks you have, bring the saw all the way back, measure the distance of the stone once you program the first cut, lay it all out with the lasers, take the bar and straighten it all out. I can do all that myself. Distance of the stone, width of the stone, height of the stone, distance off the wall, distance off the floor kind of stuff. Number of blocks for the order they're supposed to be in, program. A lot of saws come with different amperages and things like this. This is more of a Sawyer's kind of position. And again, whether it be big gantry saws, 8 foot with a 4-foot cutting radius, or wire saws cutting real big stacks and slabs and things like that, or just pre-cut into whatever you're going to put into the bays or stuff like that. I have some experience with the larger forklifts, but not a whole lot. Usually the managers would do that. I'm sure I'd pick up pretty quick with operating. Not too much of a problem for me. I'm catching stuff with my eyes, it's all, there's some force in there, but it's a little more of lack of experience than lack of enthusiasm or actual skill or fear to do the job, if you will. I don't care. You throw me in it, you need the job done. Give me 3 seconds, 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. That old saying, whatever it may be. So again, landscaping, carpentry, stone masonry, hardscape, stone masonry. The only thing I really haven't done is quarrying. But I have a general idea. A lot of family does it. Ex-family, the Scoville line there. What else? Even like mopping and cleaning, stuff like that. You can bust a sweat if you know what you're doing with it, and that helps you add up to a lot of other stuff, which just makes you more than a general laborer, just somebody in there to do the job. So that's what Incorporated is all about. You know, it's not just this inch. It's a tool. It's a mile. It's a compass to draw circles. Everything you need it to be. Catch you on the next one.